Today, on Be Something Wonderful, you are reality. Stop settling for less. I am your host, Kearin, and these are the studios of Be Something Wonderful, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, good morning and welcome back to the studios of Be Something Wonderful. One of you asked, well, I've been manifesting some of the things that I want and desire in my life. But when it comes to the major changes in my reality, in my life, I seem to hit a roadblock with overwhelming negative thoughts and feelings. And I know that they're manifesting into these negative circumstances and conditions and outcomes that I'm experiencing in my life. And I began to think that, yeah, all the spiritual teachers and the coaches, they all say circumstances and conditions don't matter. But I thought, well, if that's the case, then positive conditions and circumstances don't matter either. So what's the point? I should just settle for less. I should just settle for what these small wins and make this my reality. Well, we're going to talk about this idea today and more. Remember, when these teachers and these books and others and Bashar say circumstances don't matter or conditions don't matter, only state of being matters. Only who you say you are matters. They're saying that those conditions and circumstances are not source or cause of your reality. That's what that means. It means you are. So, and I want to touch on this idea, well, maybe the positive conditions don't matter either. But think about it. All conditions are created or manifested or come from one source. You as all that is. That one consciousness, that one awareness, that one divine mind. And so, and this gets to the teachings of Thomas Troward in the Edinburgh Lectures. And he talks about this idea that when you walk into a darkened room with a candle, you illuminate that room. That illumination is the cause of that positive light, that positive experience. And as you remove that light, the absence of that light, of that cause, creates the idea of a darkened or a negative experience. So any negative experience is simply the absence of you as source, as the creator of your reality. The positive, the light, is what you are. That's why they matter. But remember, positive or negative, conditions are secondary causes. What is first cause? You. That's what the spiritual greats were really talking about. Whether the conditions are positive or negative, they don't matter because they're not cause. They're not source. You are. All circumstances and conditions are secondary causes. Thoughts, feelings, people, events, and conditions are all secondary to you as cause. So this is what I want to touch on like we never have before. And it really comes from this manifesting myth, right? I think it's one of the biggest manifesting myths ever. I think it's the one that spawned and is responsible for nearly all the manifesting half-truths. Right? There's a lot of half-truths with manifesting. That manifesting what you want is about your thoughts and feelings and emotions and all these other things that they say. But think about this. It all comes from this one idea that thoughts become things, that thoughts and feelings become things. But here's the truth. Thoughts and feelings don't become things. They are things. Hear this. They are things. And those things, your changing thoughts and feelings, are secondary causes. They're not source. They don't know what's really going on or what's really possible. This is powerful. Right here, when I say secondary causes, I'm pointing to Troward in the Edinburgh Lectures, one of my favorite books, and we're going to talk about this today, And one of you actually wrote me and said that you saw a few videos on these lectures, on the Troward teachings. But very powerful, that your changing thoughts and feelings, those changing conditions and circumstances, whatever they are, the people, events, and circumstances, the thoughts and feelings, are secondary causes. They don't know what's really going on or what's really possible. This comes from William Whitecloud in The Magician's Way, where he says thoughts and feelings are not real or reality. Right? What do? They are things. Remember, thoughts don't become things, they are things. Thoughts and feelings don't become things, they are things. They're manifestations. They are things that express your potential story of I am or I am not. Your potential assumptions that you are who you say you are, who you desire to be, or you're not. Stay with me today. This is going to be a big one. Your thoughts and feelings are not reality. In other words, they're not first cause. They're secondary causes. They're not source or cause of the circumstances and conditions or other things in your life. Thoughts and feelings don't become things, they are things. And they're not source or cause of the other things in your life. All of those things are secondary causes. Wow. Stay with me today. Stay with me today. Thoughts and feelings that change and spiral up and down don't become things. They are things or circumstances that don't matter. Why? Because they're not source or cause. In other words, they're secondary causes. They're not source or the first cause of everything that you desire and want or reality. This is what Troward called secondary causation. Unless you allow and accept them as your story and reality, unless you, as first cause and source, make them matter or give them power and authority or reality from above, they can't do anything. That's what Jesus meant when he was in front of Pontius Pilate. Imagine Pilate representing those changing thoughts and feelings and conditions and circumstances, those secondary causes. Right? Remember, Pilate says, don't you know I have the power to crucify you or set you free? No, you don't, Jesus says. That's a secondary cause. I get my power and authority from above, from source, from first cause. Wow. You, I am awareness, are first cause and source of and as all that is. You as the center of and one with the one universal intelligent conscious mind. What the ancients called the Father. I and the Father are one. In other words, I and the field. I and the field of consciousness, the quantum field, the awareness, that intelligence are one. John 10:30. That's the metaphysical meaning of Father. It's the field of consciousness. It's the field of awareness. And that one is first cause. And you're one with it, so you are too. But you might ask, okay, Tom, I'll stay with you here. But what about me? This was one of you asked this. This is very powerful. What about the physically focused, individualized one mind? In other words, I'm the individualized focus of that one divine mind. What about me assuming and declaring and affirming and imagining my wish fulfilled? Imagining that I am who I desire to be and want to be. What about that? That seems like secondary cause. Well, stay with me. Doesn't that make me and my assumptions and beliefs just another secondary cause and condition? Well, Troward in the Edinburgh lectures gave us the answer. Hear this. The expression relative first cause has been used to distinguish the action of the creative principle in the individual mind. In other words, you as the center of that one divine mind with your individualized physical focus, from the universal first cause, from the one first cause, the isness of reality. You as the physically focused individualized center are a relative first cause, but you're still first cause relative to what? to the one. I and the Father are one, but I'm relative to that one. But I'm still first cause. In John 14:28, the ancients told us this. The Father is greater than I am. Yes, I'm one with the Father. I'm one with first cause. I'm one with the great causation of reality, the great source. But that Father or that field is greater than I am, is greater than my individualized focus. But I'm still first cause. I'm a relative first cause. Relative to what? To the Father, to the field. Am I separate? No, I'm one with it all. Wow. True. I encourage you to read if you haven't, many of you have, the Edinburgh Lectures. Very powerful. One of my favorites. We're going to get into it today, though, like we have before, but maybe like we never have before. All circumstances and conditions of thoughts and feelings in people, events, and conditions in these appearances, positive or negative, are secondary causes. Well, then you say, okay, Tom, but then why as relative first cause, me as the center of that one divine mind, am I creating or manifesting negative conditions? The big question. Why then? If I'm relative first cause, why would I create this? Aha! Here's the answer. You're not. You're not manifesting and creating those. I want to walk you through this. Remember, first cause, the source, the Father of the field, in you as the Son or the center, as the relative first cause, you are the one pure positive energy or source of light. The only positive condition of absolute unconditional love and fulfillment. In other words, the only reality is the good, is that positive as source. The negative is simply absence, the absence of that source. So it's the absence of your focus, of you as that relative first cause. So you're not causing, remember, you're not manifesting those conditions. There's just light. There's just good. There's just you. That's the whole idea that evil is not real. Resist not evil because you give it reality. There's just that one positive, pure energy. You're the son of that, but you're the relative first cause. You're one with the Father. There's only that. And in the absence of that, there's an apparent negative condition. A sickness in the body or the conditions of our life. But that's just the absence of that focus. Here's what Troward said. Hear this. All positive conditions result from the active presence of a certain cause. Hear it again. All positive conditions result from the active presence of a certain cause, of a certain source, of a certain pure positive energy that we call reality or consciousness or light or awareness. The Father and Son of Scripture, all that is. All negative conditions come from the absence of such a cause. Wow! Do you see? Yes, the negative conditions are connected to source, but only because of the absence of source, the absence of your focus as source. They're not real. They're not reality. It's simply the absence of the light that you are. It's you pulling with the candle walking out of that room. You are the light. It's the idea that I am, or I am not that I am. Wow. Hear it again, Troward. All positive conditions result from the active presence, the conscious active presence of a certain cause. All negative conditions result from the absence of such a cause. Wow. In other words, your focus on secondary causes and not as being the relative first cause. The absence of that focus in knowing that you are source. That's all. Do you see? That's why it's just positive. The negatives created or manifested from the absence of that focus in your knowing that you are source. So you're not really creating or manifesting them. They're simply the illusion of the absence of the light that you are. Hear it again. There's simply the illusion of the absence of the light and the positive, pure positive energy and source that you are. The absence of your focus. That's the illusion. It's not what it seems. Wow. I'm not sure we've unpacked it like this before. Troward gives us a simple yet powerful illustration, which I was talking about earlier. If a lighted candle is brought into a room, the room becomes illuminated. And if the candle is taken away, it becomes dark again. Now, the illumination and the darkness are both conditions. In other words, positive and negative conditions. The one positive resulting from the presence of the light, and the one negative resulting from its absence. Wow. Are you with me? Here's the candle. The lighted candle is you, I am, first cause and source, but also you as the relative, active first cause. Relative first cause. Getting jumbled here. You as the first cause or source, and you as the relative or active first cause, actively calling forth the life that you want. Therefore, the opposite of your fulfillment appearing in the form of negative conditions is simply your absence of being active relative first cause. Wow. That's why negative conditions and circumstances are not real or reality. Both positive and negative conditions are related to that same one source or cause, love, God, light, I am. But positive from its active present and negative from its apparent absence. But don't judge by appearances. Wow! This really is the underlying idea of why affirmations and denials work so well when you know yourself as source. Affirming the good, denying the evil. Because the evil is simply the absence of the good that you are. The absence of the focus of you being that good. Very powerful. Troward continues here. A condition, whether positive or negative, is never primary cause, is never first cause. And the primary cause of any series, hear this, the first cause or primary cause of any series can never be negative. For negation is the condition which arises from the absence of active causation. Wow. That's powerful. First cause, relative first cause, it's the absence. That's all that is. It can never be primary cause. That's why it's not real or reality. This is what Jesus Christ, as your Christ consciousness, the metaphysical meaning of your higher self, that higher you, the real you, this is what he knew is the truth. The evil or the negative are not real, but rather they're the absence of what is real. Hear it again. This is what your Christ consciousness, you as Christ consciousness knows. That the truth is the evil or the negative conditions are not real, but simply the absence of what is real. That's why A Course in Miracles says only love is real. It has to be the only reality. All conditions and circumstances and appearances, positive or negative, result from one source. But the negative are simply the absence or the idea of the absence of that source. This is the whole basis of the metaphysical idea of affirming and denying, of affirmations and denials. You as relative first cause can deny any sickness, any negative condition because they're not reality. You are as that one pot pure positive energy. And it's only the absence of it. And that affirmation is your active participation or your active affirmation as that relative first cause. That's powerful. You're denying the unreality of sickness and negative conditions. Wow. Positive, powerful. Powerful and positive. So all fear, doubt, negative thoughts and feelings and people, events, and circumstances are simply the absence of your active conscious causation as first cause and relative first cause, because they are one. You don't really create or manifest any negative condition. They are simply a secondary cause or assumption or condition of I am not. You as relative first cause, declaring I am not. Pulling your awareness or your light from all that you are. Creating this illusion of a negative appearance. Do not judge by appearances. Right? Righteous judgment. In other words, the judgment that it's all positive light. And it's only the absence of that light that creates that darkness. Your power as relative first cause is one with all power of first cause or source. I and the Father are one. The Father is greater than I am. Troward said this to really nail this idea down. There is no difference in kind between the operation of first cause in the universal mind, in the universal, or that one divine mind, and in the particular, the individualized focus mind, as we've talked about. You as that individualized center of physical mind, there's no difference. The difference is only a difference of skill, but not in size of miracles or what's possible. That's not what they mean. They mean the scale of your focus. As you create a physical experience, you filter out all other possibilities, but you can make that filter anything you want. I and the Father are one. The Father is greater than I. That's why on a scale, the greater scale, the Father or the field is greater. But you're still one with it. That's why it goes on to say, but the power itself is identical. Hear it. So the only difference is of scale, but the power itself is identical. Of course it is. Wow. Absolutely limitless. Wow. So now, knowing what you know, you can't unknow this. After watching this video, you cannot unknow this. You cannot go back to seeing conditions ever the same. That only love, only fulfillment, only I am is real. And that the so-called negative or opposite of your absolutely unconditional fulfillment is not real or reality, but simply the absence of your focus as the relative first cause, you as I am, then you can now go and it shall be done for you as you have believed. In other words, as you have put that focus on as the relative first cause. It's not about how to believe. That all comes from believing in those conditions again. Belief is secondary cause. See, you see, you don't need, now you know, as you have believed. It's the decision to be first cause. That's what they mean here. As you have believed. As you have made the decision that I'm beyond belief. That I am relative first cause. Because that's the truth. And then it says after that, this is the healing of the centurion servant. The servant was healed in that very moment. Yeah, because the sickness was not reality. It was not what was real. It was simply the absence of that truth that Jesus, as your I am awareness, represented. The absence of that knowing. And as the centurion knew this, as the centurion trusted that idea of stepping into that truth, the servant was healed. It has to be. Wow. You are reality. Stop settling for less. 3D isn't reality. You are. I am your host, Tom Kearin. And these are the studios of Be Something Wonderful, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing all our videos and commenting on them. Be sure to check out the Tom Kearin channel. We released a big one there. And we have more content coming, as well as a live event on the Be Something Wonderful membership channel at the end of this month. Stay tuned for another announcement. We're going to remind you again. With great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Kearin here in the studios of Be Something Wonderful. Until next time, see you soon.